Tonight, an historic day as Toronto's new mayor launches a new direction for the city.
Today is a day for renewal.
We'll walk you through Olivia Chow's first official day as mayor as she charts the next cycle for our city.
The whole service road from Winston Churchill through Erin Mills Parkway has been basically closed off.
Plus, a whole ordeal is playing out in Mississauga tonight. The major road shut down after a sinkhole opens up, what the city says caused it, and when the fix will be complete.
All this blood.
What happened?
A whole bag of blood.
And blood, sweat, and tears. A traveler arriving at Pearson Airport says he was left to clean somebody else's blood off his stuff after a previous passenger suffered a hemorrhage in his seat. We'll update you on the 2 investigations underway and hear directly from the passenger now seeking accountability. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. It was a milestone day in Toronto today as Olivia Chow officially took power as mayor. She's promised to take the city in a completely different direction and already started that vibe with just her arrival to City Hall today. Ali Chiasson shows us how the Chow era kicked off.
The new mayor of Toronto cycled her way into the office. Not only is it her preferred way to get around town, it also sends a message.
They want a mayor that would make sure that cycling is safe, that is seen as a legitimate form of transportation.
They being the supporters who helped her along the way.
I think people voted for change and overwhelmingly rejected a lot of the anti-bike lane rhetoric.
So I thought I'd just bike down and support Olivia in the final step before she enters the City Hall.
Inside, Chow receives an Indigenous welcome.
I bring greetings from the urban Indigenous community of Toronto.
And well wishes from many a community.
We have a saying from my country of Jamaica. And as a Canadian of Jamaican heritage, I want to share with you that the saying says, she little, but she talawa. And that means she's strong. She is mighty. She will be powerful.
The gallery was packed with community leaders, city councillors, and family members, one of whom was both at a point in time.
I grew up around this building with Olivia being here as a Metro councillor alongside my dad. I know how difficult a job this is going to be, and there's no one I can think of that would do a better job of it.
After signing the declaration with the chain of office around her neck, Olivia Chow goes from mayor-elect to mayor.
Today is a day for renewal. In the face of our shared challenges, the message was loud and clear. People want change.
And they want it now, as evidenced by a rally outside City Hall with the Encampment Support Network.
If Olivia Chow wants to prioritize housing, that needs to start today. The Strathcona Shelter Hotel is only about a 10-minute walk from here, so there's no excuse.
The realities of the job are everywhere. Homelessness and safety are particularly palpable, and as of today, they're her problems to fix.
Well, what a day. I'm the mayor of the city of Toronto.
Now that that's settled, when does Mayor Chow get down to business?
Now, I've started.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Olivia Chow has said infrastructure issues are a major priority for her in Toronto, and tonight over in Mississauga, road issues were on full display today after a large sinkhole opened up yesterday, closing down South Sheridan Way. The city says it was caused by a broken water main, and Tyler Cheese is at the site of the sinkhole tonight. Tyler, what do we know about how long the repairs are expected to take?
Well, Chris, things have moved pretty quickly here tonight. Crews have been on scene since this afternoon, and they've managed to replace the water main and fill most of the hole with gravel. But talking with some of the local business owners, they say they've been impacted by the situation.
About 2 days ago, we started getting reports from our staff coming into the office. They kept hitting this bump in the road that seemed to be growing kind of quickly. And then yesterday afternoon, one of the city trucks stopped in front of the building and came in and said they were going to have to shut down the water.
This local business owner says even after 1 day of a sinkhole on his street, his warehouse is full to the brim as delivery trucks haven't been able to get in or out.
They've closed the roads at both ends, and it's pretty far away from us. So the whole service road from Winston Churchill through Erin Mills Parkway has been basically closed off.
His is one of 5 businesses that had their water shut off last night. They've been waiting all day to find out when it'll be coming back on. This Mississauga City Councilor says the sinkhole was caused by an old pipe that needed replacing.
After the excavation, we found that a pipe was leaking, a steel 400 millimeter steel pipe was leaking, and that caused the erosion. And so that's being dug up right now, and it's going to be repaired.
He also says the situation could have been a lot worse.
This is a long pipe that goes under the QEW, which is a major highway. I think we're fortunate that it happened in this one site and nobody was hurt, nobody was injured, no cars fell in, and also that it didn't happen on the QEW.
He's hopeful that it won't be long until the repairs are finished.
We're hoping overnight tonight we will be able to restore water service, and then we'll be able to fix the road by the end of day tomorrow. That's if everything goes according to plan, but you never know what happens.
Now that timeline does seem likely with all the progress we've seen here tonight. We spoke with the crew earlier and they said the water has been turned back on and barring any other major issues should remain that way tomorrow. They also said the road will likely be paved tomorrow and things should open up again shortly after that. Chris?
Thanks, Tyler. To King City now, and police have charged 2 Ontario teens in the murder of a Montreal man whose body was found earlier this year.
So we have 2 individuals who've now been charged with first-degree murder. One of those people is a 15-year-old girl from Mississauga, and the other is a 19-year-old man from Cambridge.
18-year-old Zachary Ramnath's body was found in April by a person walking a dog near Seneca College's King campus. Police releasing today that officers arrested 19-year-old Elijah Griffiths of Cambridge earlier this month, a 15-year-old whose identity is protected under the Youth Criminal Justice Act was arrested in June. 21 degrees and light rain tonight in Toronto, and a heads up for people in the Windsor area tonight where a tornado watch has been issued by Environment Canada. Colette Kennedy joining us now with the first look at the weather forecast. And Colette, when the days get hot like this, it feels like anything is possible weather-wise.
Yeah, it's exactly like that, right, Chris? And here we are with some heavier rains moving in through the mostly overnight hours. I know started a little bit earlier for southwestern Ontario, and that's where the heaviest amounts of 30 to 50 or 60 millimeters, and even locally could be a bit more than that. And because it's coming in a short timeline, a short time span, that's when we can get into issues with some flash flooding. So yes, some storms in there, thunderstorms embedded, not a lot to that, but certainly some heavier downpours and a little bit of lightning we've certainly been seeing with this too. See how it kind of hugs along the north shore of Lake Erie, puts significant amounts towards the Niagara region, and we're still looking at rainfall through the GTA through tonight and into the early morning hours, 10 to 20 millimeters. If that slides just a bit further north, we'll be looking at more than that. We'll get some clearing after that tomorrow. However, a few areas where we could see the odd shower or thunderstorm pop up, that is there. 30% chance. 17 overnight tonight with the wet conditions, and 25 with a little more humidity tomorrow, Chris. And we'll take a look at the extended forecast when I come back.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you then.
All this is red blood. Look at all this red blood.
Apologies if you have a weak stomach, because it is the stuff of nightmares. An Air France passenger traveling from Paris to Toronto says he found blood on the carpet in front of his seat. The cabin crew wouldn't move Habib Bata, instead providing him with gloves and cleaning supplies. He was later told someone had suffered a hemorrhage in his seat on a previous flight. Now 2 investigations are underway, one by Air France and another by Canada's Public Health Agency. Habib is a freelance journalist and joins me now from New York to talk more about this chilling situation. Habib, I'm curious, what was your first reaction when you found that blood on your stuff?
I mean, I was just shocked. I wasn't sure it was blood initially. I just knew there was a big stain on my seat, and my instinct was, I want this away from me. It's gross. I could smell a terrible smell of manure almost. And so I just instinctively just tried to get it away and wipe it. And as I just wiped it, the Kleenexes came up blood red.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I can't even imagine. So Air France has, of course, sent us a statement tonight, and they said that the crew immediately took action to clean the carpet and installed blankets on the ground to avoid any further contact with the stain while assisting the passenger in the cleaning of his belongings. What do you think of how the crew responded to your concern in that very moment?
Not an accurate description of what happened. They handed me wet wipes to clean a biohazard on their aircraft. They just watched me wiping biohazard in the galley near where the food is prepared. No one told me, you know, this is not a good idea, leave that alone. They just almost encouraged me to clean it myself. Why should I clean someone else's biohazard?
Well, and the airliner has said that they offered you compensation, and now we know that Air France and Canada's Public Health Agency have launched investigations into what happened. What do you think about how officials and the airliner have handled all of this since then?
They haven't taken it seriously. They initially said that it was a little to non-existent risk to a passenger to be seated in a blood-soaked and feces-soaked chair. I could have touched my face. I could have spread that biohazard across the plane. They're not taking it seriously. It's not just about me and getting compensated. They haven't really compensated me yet. They said they might. But it's really a bigger picture here about airline safety and sanitation. It seems that there's no real protocols for biohazard, in my view. From what I've seen, this could happen again. They're not really taking it seriously, and this is a real threat. This is a vector for pathogens, live blood. It wasn't a little bit of blood. It wasn't a residue. It was a blood-soaked carpet from my feet until the chair in front of me. So this is a serious issue. I think that someone should be held accountable.
All right, Habib. Well, I'm sure that I speak for everybody when I say that we're all going to be checking our seats very closely the next time that we hop on board any flight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight to talk about your experience.
Thank you. Don't take off your shoes on a plane. You don't know what's in that car.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night. All right, turning now to another story that's got a lot of people talking today. A Toronto woman says she got caught between the provincial government and the healthcare system over whether or not she was responsible for paying for a test that she needed. She was left in limbo for several days before finally getting an answer, and Greg Ross has her story tonight.
Akio Maroon says she suffers from chronic vertigo attacks and was recently advised by her doctor to undergo a number of tests, including one called a vestibular head impulse test.
They said it was going to be a 2.5-hour process.
A clinic at the Toronto General Hospital that is conducting the test also told Maroon that as of July 1st, the test was no longer covered under OHIP and that she would have to pay $120 out of pocket.
These attacks left me debilitated and unable to work. So I've been living off my savings and, taking care of 2 kids and 2 elderly parents.
Frustrated, she decided to tweet about it on Monday.
I tweeted about it in hopes that anyone who saw it might be able to clarify.
To her surprise, the Ministry of Health responded to her tweet yesterday, saying there have been no changes to coverage for VHIT under OHIP. VHIT, including required equipment, staff, and supplies, is an insured service when medically necessary or rendered by an audiologist on staff. Maroon brought this tweet to the attention of the clinic where she is scheduled to have the test.
I spoke to the manager of the clinic. She saw the tweet as well, and she said there must be a misunderstanding because there is no code currently for that test. And if there's no code for the test, then it has to be paid out of pocket.
In the meantime, the University Health Network, which oversees the Toronto General Hospital, launched an investigation. Today, the UHN sent out its own tweet. Patients at the TGH clinic were told they need to pay for a VHI test normally covered under OHIP. This is a mistake on our part, and we are addressing this directly with our patients, including full reimbursement of any payments already made. Maroon says while she's relieved, she's concerned there may be others affected by this.
What happens to patients who declined to do the tests because they couldn't afford it?
A spokesperson for the UHN told CBC News that patients with questions about this can reach out to them directly at UHN Patient Relations. Greg Ross, CBC News.
Welcome back. As I was talking about off the top of the show, Olivia Chow officially became mayor today, and already her office says there will be a meeting this week with the feds and the province over an unfolding problem on our streets, an influx of asylum seekers left with no place to go. Patrick Swadden shows us the problem and what advocates say needs to be done.
Yeah, like for example, when the rain comes, we all gather together like this. We put this.
Proskovia Namusisi says she fled Uganda due to violence and is seeking asylum in Canada, but has been sleeping on Toronto's streets for 2 weeks since she arrived.
It's hard. It's really very, very hard. Yeah, and sometimes I ask myself that if there was no people who come and give us like some stuff to use, how will we survive?
For people who are asylum seekers, refugee claimants, the city.
People like Diana Chan McNally, a harm reductions case manager, who's been coming by to provide food and supplies. She says Toronto's shelter system is completely full and turning asylum seekers away, but isn't getting enough funding from the feds to shelter those filing refugee claims.
What we have are these different levels of government saying it's not really our responsibility, we're walking away for now. And it's really been up to the community, essentially, to make sure that people are healthy and well.
But sleeping on the streets in the heat and rain, some for over a month, has taken a toll.
We've got people with trench foot, which this is not the year 1919. We're not in the First World War. These are just rudimentary illnesses that shouldn't exist if we had proper shelter for people.
The city says its 9,000-bed shelter system is currently housing around 3,000 refugee claimants, far over the 500 they have funding for.
We are facing a humanitarian crisis here in the city.
Tanner says the federal program that supported the city has ended.
They were working with us up until the end of 2022. They paid over $70 million that covered about 98% of our costs last year. And then they turned their backs on us.
We need at least $160 million from the federal government to help us in sheltering these refugees.
Mayor Chow's team saying there will be a meeting on Friday with senior city, federal, and provincial staff to address the crisis. But the feds say they have stepped up.
The federal government was there with hundreds of millions of dollars in support to Quebec and Ontario primarily.
The feds say they will invest almost $500 million through their 2023-2024 budget to provide support for immigrants and resettled refugees. But those on the street aren't feeling any of that.
They tell you that you keep on calling, keep on calling. We shall help you, but we haven't got any government, someone to come here and talk to us.
These people hoping help comes very soon. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
Here's a live look at Windsor tonight. A heads up for people in Essex, Chatham, Kent, and Windsor, where a tornado watch has been issued by Environment Canada. There are also rainfall warnings for parts of southwestern Ontario and special weather statements that now stretch all the way up to cottage country. Heaviest rainfall totals overnight could exceed 70 millimeters in some areas. Let's get straight to Colette now. And Colette, a lot of activity happening overnight. Walk us through the areas of concern.
Sure. I mean, it is summertime, it's July, you know, we can expect to get thunderstorms here and there, but this is also a system that's really, you just got a lot of heavier rain associated with it that's moving through southwestern Ontario and will have an impact around the Golden Horseshoe here through these overnight hours. But the heaviest stuff is there from Windsor towards Chatham, Kent, London, kind of through that region, maybe even over towards Woodstock and Hamilton as this tracks through. There is the risk, I put it as an add-in. Yes, there are some embedded thunderstorms or the remnants of with this, but also kind of behind it, once it moves through, it's kind of moving slowly and there's still going to be a frontal boundary near us to tomorrow afternoon so that we could have a few isolated showers or thunderstorms bubbling up even once the main event has pushed through. And let's take a look at that weekend weather. I've got mild, and what I mean by that, where I put that in there, is that mild but not oppressive. Like, yes, humidity is going to be building, but temperatures close to seasonal. For Toronto, that means kind of the upper 20s, 27, 28 degrees, and that's what we're looking at temperature-wise into the weekend. So tomorrow morning, still even then, some lingering showers back towards our region, but most of it goes into eastern Ontario, and then through the day, that really puts a risk of some stronger thunderstorms, perhaps even some severe storms into eastern Ontario and towards southern Quebec if you are going to be traveling in that direction. A few little bubbling up pop-ups here Thursday later in the day, but otherwise we do get into much better conditions as the day wears on for tomorrow. And And then the setup is looking pretty good into Friday, too. It's only into the evening hours, and especially kind of north, where we'll see a few more. It is summertime, so a few more of these thunderstorms coming towards us. So you see, the models haven't been in agreement here with the exact tracking of this, but we do have some areas where it may well be over that 50 millimeters of rainfall. The temperatures tonight kind of held down as that system soaks through, and then as we look ahead into that forecast going ahead, slight chance there for a little lightning toward the afternoon hours. Looks good Friday. But yes, a chance as we go into the weekend each day and towards Monday of at least a section of the day having some wet weather.
Goodness, so unpredictable. All right, thanks, Colette. The roads in our city can be quite bumpy sometimes. It is something that racers are already anticipating.
We get hustled around in the car for sure. But I do personally like the bumpy street circuits, or even just bumpy tracks in general, because it puts the driver to a test and it puts all the material to a test.
No kidding. The Danish driver says the Toronto street course is one of the most physically demanding on the IndyCar schedule. Lundgaard finished 8th in this race last year. And as we gear up for the Honda Indy this weekend, some are already looking forward to Canada's biggest fair later this summer. The CNE is going to have a new attraction this year, a Vegas-style waterfront fountain show. The Sparkling Symphony, a daily choreographed spectacle right on Lake Ontario. It'll feature 11 dancing fountains that'll sprout to 100 feet in the air to high-energy music, as well as color-changing lights and lasers to illuminate the night sky. The CNE will run from August 18th to September 4th. Great way to cap off summer. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night.